Well, it's that time of year. Temperatures are dropping and cold and flu season is ramping up. Well, respiratory infections like the flu, COVID-19, RSV cases have been rising in recent months, according to data from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Well, joining us now, Dr. Armando Mesa with Texas Tech Physicians El Paso. Dr. Mesa, thanks so much for joining us. Can you tell us, are we seeing an increase in cases of COVID-19, flu, or norovirus in El Paso? And how do the local numbers compare to trends across the country?
Well, the whole region of the south of the country has increased numbers, and those are from very high to high rates. And El Paso is not the exception. Very simply, the weather changes and the, unfortunately, ability for viruses to pass from one person to another has made all this happening and getting a little worse as we speak.
Well, are there certain risk factors that make people more vulnerable? And with norovirus being highly contagious, what should people know about preventing its spread?
Yeah, most people will have a relatively uneventful symptom and recovery kind of situation. But for some individuals who have a low immune system, those with chronic illnesses of diabetes or lung or heart, they are at high risk of infection, but also of severe disease that can end up in the hospital. Most of these viruses that we see, including the COVID virus, the influenza, and the RSV, are respiratory viruses. But norovirus is transmitted through the contact with surfaces that are contaminated, and the main symptom is diarrhea and highly infectious. And one of the things that we need to remember is that it can affect the entire family, including your children.
Well, are we seeing an increase in hospitalizations, and how concerned should the community be?
We see patients that are on both ends. Ones that are having other illnesses and coming with a positive test for influenza and coronavirus, but also we are seeing patients who are being admitted primarily because of severe infection with these viruses. The elderly, the patients with diseases that have been decompensated, they will end up in the hospital, and they are the ones that are high risk of having a complication severe for purposes of inpatient admission.
Well, what are the key symptoms people should be on the lookout for, and what steps can individuals take to protect themselves and their families from these illnesses?
The three respiratory viruses are going to be the usual, flu, cough, symptoms that are related to respiratory illness. The norovirus is going to be diarrhea or vomiting. And what we know is that when we have vaccination, when we take precautions to prevent exposure to viruses by getting too close in areas where there is a high rate of infection, and for hand washing, I think those measures are very important to consider.
Dr. Mesa, thanks so much for joining us.
You're welcome.
We'll be right back.